The lakes of Kenya's Rift Valley are rising, inundating homes and businesses. Water levels have been swelling for years, but are particularly high this year following heavy rains. To make matters worse, two lakes, Lake Baringo and Lake Bogoria, which you can see on the map here, have grown so much that they run the risk of merging together. But Lake Bogoria is a saline lake, while Lake Baringo is a freshwater lake, providing drinking water to animals and people. It would be an ecological disaster if the two lakes meet.
Lake Bogoria, so swollen from rising water levels that the shoreline changes every day. We see this early on in our trip, when the access road unexpectedly becomes part of the lake. Nearby, we find Chelagat Kipchumba, who's just arrived to open her bar and restaurant. But there's been a dramatic change.
This water just came in within one day, so it came slowly until it got to this level. So without any notice, you have to demolish within just a few seconds.
Chelagat has already been forced to move her business once. It's inevitable that she will have to move again, and she's not the only one.
The structure we're looking at is an entry point that was erected by the Kenya Wildlife Service after their original gate was submerged by water. It only took 3 months before the lake eventually caught up with this one, and we can clearly see that this water is unrelenting. What we can't see, but we can certainly smell, is the sewerage that's also being brought with it, because obviously people here use pit latrines and all their contents are now underwater, and the water is clearly unrelenting because all around us the ground is soggy and there's little lagoons all over the place.
The extent of the flooding can be seen clearly from neighboring Lake Baringo. The freshwater lake has expanded by 60% in the last 7 years. This year has been by far the worst. Fox, our tour guide, grew up on the shores of this lake. Work has been scarce, as most of the hotels are now underwater. He leads us to one of many flooded schools in the area, revealing an eerie scene of decaying buildings. But our last stop is the most significant for Fox.
I grew up here. My first 20 years of life, I spent it here. This was my playground. It's quite sad to see it all gone to ruins. Don't know what I'm going to tell my kids.
Scientists are warning that freshwater Lake Baringo and saltwater Lake Bogoria could merge. The cross-contamination would destroy the balance in the ecosystem. To understand what is happening to the lakes, we head to the forest. Home to the rivers that feed the lakes in the Rift Valley, Mau Forest is recovering from years of deforestation. David Weston has been a conservationist for more than 50 years. He says that destruction of the catchment areas is just one in a series of linked problems.
The pastoral people are now settling down and staying in one place. So what that means is every single day you have heavy grazing, and that is really prominent around the Baringo Basin, up in the hills on the side. So all of that erosion is being washed off routinely. So in 2018, we had rainfall, which was the equivalent of El Nino in 1998, then followed last year by these extraordinary rains which have continued for a whole year. So that means degradation, huge amount of runoff and siltation. And it's the combination of those two that have made these Rift Valley lakes and even other areas like Amboseli just lift 10, sometimes 15 meters.
Back in Bogoria, a storm breaks. It's short but ferocious. Chelagat is visibly worried, and soon her worst fears are realized. The water level has gone up again. This could be her last day on this land. It's the following day and construction has started on higher ground. This is where Chelagat's new home and business will be. It's a fresh, uneasy start. No one can be sure the water won't rise this high, because no one believed the water would ever get as far as it already has.